Facebook, and YouTube. I'm going to get started on Instagram in just a second. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about the key to becoming a confident writer. And I'm super excited, so give me just a second. Hi, Instagram. Today we're talking about the key to becoming a confident writer, and I'm super excited to chat about this with you because it is such a fun topic, and my hair is very frizzy today, so excuse me. So we are also live on YouTube and Facebook, and we are chatting about writer confidence because we all struggle with this. This is something that is a huge reason why we can't seem to actually write and finish our books. So definitely, let's just chat for a little bit. Let's talk about what makes a writer confident and the ways that we can actually develop that confidence within us. So, okay, here we go. So the absolute key to becoming a confident writer is, drumroll please, your mindset. Yeah, mindset is key to your confidence. Now, there are a lot of different ways to address your mindset. One of them is meditation, and I'm sure I will be talking about this in the coming weeks because it's a huge thing for me. But today we're going to talk specifically about affirmations. And so affirmations are also called mantras, and they are tools that we can use to help us rewrite limiting beliefs that we may have. So, and I'm actually going to walk through an example here. I've got one written down so that we can walk through how to use different writer affirmations to help us get past those blocks. So if you deal with something like writer's block, if you feel like you're stuck, if you don't know where to go next with your manuscript, no matter if you're a plotter or a pantser, or no matter how you write, there are universal truths for writers. There are things like imposter syndrome, if you've heard of that. Hi. Thanks for joining. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so let's get talking about writer affirmations. A few tips. I want to talk to you what they are, and then we'll talk about like what we can do and how they work. And then we'll go through an example of just one that I kind of thought of and how to figure out what those blocks are in our lives so that we can create mantras or affirmations that actually work for us specifically. So this will be kind of not really a homework lesson, but it'll give you some information on how to think through those blocks that you're having so that you can work through those. I'm going to adjust this just a little. There we go. I just felt like that looked awkward. Okay, so today we're talking writer affirmations. What are they? So writer affirmations are basically statements that we make about ourselves as if they are true. Because spoiler alert, what we believe is true is true. So we create mantras or affirmations, whichever word you're comfortable with. They can just be phrases, if you want to say it that way. Something that helps you rewrite those limiting beliefs you have. So the biggest deal with affirmations is that you speak them in the present tense as if they are already true. So if you've heard me, I did a couple reels about this, and I've been talking about this, but one popular one that I like to use is I am a writer. Because if you believe that you are a writer, then you will write. And so if you don't believe that you are a writer, you're probably not writing, or at least not writing as much as you should or would like to. So I am a writer is a very helpful mantra. You may not feel like a writer right now. That's what the mantra is for. Yeah. Okay, so mantras help us get unstuck. That's one of the biggest things about them. You can be stuck on so many things, stuck in your writing and stuck in just in life in general. And these aren't just for writing, but we're talking about writing today. So they help you develop confidence because you start believing the things that you are saying to yourself. So it's kind of, you might think of it as putting the cart before the horse, but it's really not, because we act from what we believe about ourselves, whether those are conscious beliefs or not. So if you consciously know that you're a writer, but subconsciously there's something that's holding you back, you're not going to act like a writer. Okay? So, all right, what else do we want to say about mantras? Helps you rewrite limiting beliefs. And then it's helpful to actually get to the root of those limiting beliefs. That's one of the main things that make affirmations so powerful. If you do the inner work and realize that these things are holding you back, and like I said, I'm going to go through an example and walk you through kind of how to do this on just a very short live, but we're going to go through one example. But it really helps you dig down deep to those root issues so that you can get past them. Because to me, writer's block and imposter syndrome and fill in the blank, whatever, whatever issue you're dealing with. And I would love to go through this with you live, by the way. So if you do have something that you're dealing with, whether it's imposter syndrome, writer's block, or something I haven't mentioned, if there's a block that you're having and you're willing to share, I would love to walk through it with you on this live. But that's totally fine. If you're not okay with sharing that, I understand that can be personal. But if you do have any questions or anything about any of this, please feel free to ask. Okay. So one thing that you can do with mantras, the way that makes them so helpful is you repeat them and you repeat them and you repeat them some more and you keep saying them because you're rewiring those stories that were in your head, possibly from childhood, things a lot of times that other people have said and that we internalize, especially as children. And this, I'm not going to go to all the psychology of this. I haven't studied this professionally or anything. But if you go back into like what your inner child needed, we as children were developing our view of the world. And I think they say from like 0 to 7. So in those first 7 years of our lives, we're developing our view of the world. And we usually we're looking for attachment, we're looking for love, we're looking for acceptance. And if we find those things in an unhealthy way or a dysfunctional way, then they can create blocks for us. So that's the short version. And so this exercise I'm going to walk you through will help you start to get to those limiting beliefs, get to the core of those, and create mantras that will help you rewrite those beliefs. Because if you've had them around since age 5, it's going to take a little bit of time to rewrite that. The good thing is the concept of neuroplasticity. I don't know, I'm talking with this pen. The good thing is the concept of neuroplasticity says that our brains can be rewritten. Not that it's like super easy and we just like wipe our hard drive like we would a computer and give it new data. It takes some time, but it can be done. So let's walk through an example of how this works in real life and how you can see, and this is just, again, just an example. So think about it in your life. And if you have any questions as we're going through this, I would love to hear from you. But this is just a good way to help you think about actually working through it. Okay, so let's go through the example here. And then I see I have a comment. But yes, we will go through that in just a minute. All right, so the example that I have, the problem is that you're not writing. So pretty basic. So if the problem is that you're not writing, there could be a lot of things going on. You could be too busy. You could be whatever. So there are surface issues. So why would you say you're not writing? Well, I can't find the time. I'm too busy. My computer is broken, or my husband wants to watch Netflix, or the kids need food or something. There's always something that can get in the way of us writing. Always. And that's always going to be there. So you don't have to worry about that. They're always going to be there. But we make our priorities based on what we actually prioritize. So there's the surface issues. Don't have enough time. You're too busy. Okay, those might be able to be addressed, but the underlying issues are what you're really looking for. So if you're saying, I don't write because I'm too busy, you ask why. Well, I have too many things going on. Why? And then you start getting down into why do I have too many things going on? Well, maybe I've overcommitted myself. Why? Maybe I'm trying to get acceptance from people by committing to things that I know that I don't energetically want to do or have time for. Okay, why? Why? Because I am looking for acceptance from someone else to give me that acceptance by doing things for them instead of finding that acceptance in myself. So it can get pretty deep here. I know this is deep for Tuesday afternoon or evening, but really think about all of these things. Keep asking yourself why. Just dig into that. It's important work and it's difficult work, but it is essential work if you really want to get to the root of these things. So a mantra here, and one of the underlying issues, even those I just kind of came off the cuff, but one of the ones when I was planning for this and wrote out was that I'm not worth taking the time for myself. So a mantra for that would be, I'm worthy. And of course, I am a writer, because then that helps establish that identity in your brain. And so another one we talked about, finding acceptance from someone else. So I accept myself. I am enough. That would be a good mantra as well. So it's thinking about those things that way, thinking about them critically and really breaking down the whys, and just keep going to the heart of the issue. Why? And this will be painful. I promise you, it is painful sometimes. And there can be tears, and that is okay. That is recommended, actually, because tears are a good form of release. But yeah, so just really, I encourage you, if you're experiencing any blocks or anything, let's just go through and do this, sit quietly, get where you can journal this. If this is helpful for you, to journal this out, whatever works for you to think through it. Okay, so Just Listens to Romance said she was going to share. So thank you for being brave. It's not that I doubt that I'm a writer. It's if I'm a good one. I have a hard time not deleting everything I just wrote after reading it. Yeah, that's a struggle. That's kind of imposter syndrome, some of that. Doubting that you're a good writer. Okay, so let me just address a few of those things. First of all, good writing is subjective. And if you listen to a lot of authors or writers, sometimes I've heard people say to go on Amazon to really popular books, possibly ones you loved or, back in the day, and look at their 1-star reviews. Because even critically acclaimed books that are like the best books out there still have people that don't think they're good. Doesn't matter what it is. There are books that you think are good that probably the general public don't think are good. So good is subjective. So that's one thing to remember, that you are writing from your creativity and from your voice. You are sharing what you were given, the story you were given to tell. And that makes it worthy. That makes it good. That makes it enough. So sharing all of your heart and your soul in your story, it's just intrinsically good. You don't have to worry about it. And there's going to be people that don't like it. That's just how it is. There's going to be people that love it. And that's how it is. That's actually what you want, because you are in that process finding people that love it, because you know that those are the people that are aligned with your story and they get it. And then you're going to find people that don't like it. And you're going to say, cool, you move on to the other author that's your thing. I'm not your thing, and I'm okay with that. So I hope that part was helpful. I didn't mean to get a little too deep there, but so just, and the other concept of good, if you mean it as like in a different concept, if you're not a good writer, there are certainly ways to improve your writing craft. And I have an announcement coming this week that will help with that. So I'm super excited about that. But there are ways to improve the writing craft. You can always read books or take courses or whatever and get involved in learning more about the writing craft so you can develop your skills. But as far as your story itself, I believe that you would not be given that story unless you were meant to share it. Sharing it could just mean it needs to be on the page and nobody else reads it, and that's fine too. But if you believe that you were meant to publish this book and get it out in the world, you were given it to tell. So this is why I wanted to talk about mindset, because it's so hard to get past those blocks. But sometimes it does just help just to hear, it's okay. People aren't going to always like you, and that's okay. And one of the things I like to do is, on my email list, when I get an unsubscribe, I actually celebrate. And it's like, thank you for telling me that I am not for you and you are making space for someone who is. And that's how I try to look at critical feedback. And that's sometimes really hard. And it took me a lot to get to that space. But that's the same reason I celebrate a 1-star review, because it's like, okay, cool. I am not for you, and that's okay. I'm okay with that because there are people that are for me and that enjoy what I do. All right. I think I may reframe that. Good is subjective. Yes. Reframing is so important here. And that's really what I've been talking about. It's just reframing the things that's going through your head. Like imposter syndrome. We all feel imposter syndrome when we do something new. If you've never published a book before, that's the definition of doing something new. If you've never written a book, if you've never launched a book, if you've never self-published a book, whatever it is that we are doing, and even if you've done it before, you still have a little bit of background, but you've never launched this book before. You've never written this book. And sometimes like I'm exploring different genres with my books. So I've never written in this genre before. I've never released a book in this genre. There's always things that come up that are scary. When you're doing something new, you're going to feel like an imposter because you haven't done that thing yet. So it's all about reframing. Everyone feels like an imposter. Everyone. When you're doing something new, when you're up leveling, when you're trying new things, you're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone. So let's talk about, because we're talking about affirmations today, let's talk about what affirmations can we say for feeling that you're not a good writer. Well, I mean, a very simple one is I am a good writer. That's a really simple one. My stories are important. My stories deserve to be heard. These are all, they might not feel true in the moment, but they're all true. They're all true. And that's the thing, when you start thinking about it and you really lean into it and you're like, my stories do deserve to be heard. Like, that's why I was given them. That's why I feel the need to tell them. That's why I feel compelled to write this down, because I wouldn't otherwise. So I hope that really helped. And we got to talk about reframing too, which, yay. Okay, so if anyone else has any questions they want to chat about, I would love to chat with you about the writer affirmations and talking through some of the blocks that we're having. I think it's just really helpful to have a safe space to talk through these things, because there are so many things that hold us back as writers. And that's what I've identified as part of the biggest problem for me. And it's been holding me back in every aspect of my life. Like I just really, when I went to publish my first book, so this is just, and again, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them as I'm telling the story, but it took me 10 years to write, edit, and publish my first book. 10 years. And it wasn't because I was writing a word a day, and that's how long it took me to write it, or I was editing a word a day, and that's how long. It was because my mindset was not where it needed to be to publish the book. And and I didn't realize it, but I was like, well, what if it's not good enough? It's got to be perfect. Doesn't. Perfectionism is a lie, people. Yeah, there was actually a post, I think I shared it in my stories. If I haven't, I will share it. So be sure to check that out about perfectionism, because it's amazing. Especially, this is something I struggle with, so it's something I can speak to. But perfectionism is really just, and this was the post is about, is from Leslie, I think you pronounce it, Klink. And she's my coach, and she was just chatting about how perfectionism really holds us back, and it makes us live in the past. And if you live in the past, you can't enjoy the present. So, so definitely check that out. And like I said, it's either in my stories or I'll share it when I get off here. But perfectionism is a trap. Perfectionism is coming from the place where we believe that we're not good enough until it's perfect. And this can happen from a lot of things. A lot of this can come from, like I said, your childhood, where you had people in your life that were very critical of you, or maybe they just did not congratulate you when something happened. Or so for example, if maybe you got an A on your paper or whatever it was, and you weren't given that validation of like, yeah, that was a good job. That can also, it's like a neglectful thing. Like that can also feel the same as direct criticism. But perfectionism just holds us back from not actually stepping out and doing the things we want to do. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. There is no perfect. Like, it doesn't exist. So for us to tell us a story that our work has to be perfect in order for it to be put out into the world, it's so limiting and it feels so heavy. And so that's part of why I love talking about mindset, because if you can work on this and you can develop those skills and those tools to help you break free of that, is so freeing. It just feels so much lighter. And it's always a journey, and I don't have it like 100% figured out. There's always things to work on. But part of what 2020 taught me is that mindset was so key to all the things I wanted to accomplish in my life, every single thing. And if I wanted to up level and do the things that were important to me and that I felt called to do, I would have to work on my mindset, and I would have to get past those blocks that were holding me back. Okay, so, and I did, because I published my book, yay, 10 years later. And then and it took me 2 years to get the second one out. So I'm hoping I can reduce that to a year this time. Anyway, so that's all I have for today. If you want more help with writer affirmations, I created a writer affirmation ebook, and I put that in the description on the Facebook and the YouTube, and I will put it in the description on this IGTV replay. On Instagram, it's also in the link in my bio. You'll see it first thing. So you can sign up there and get the free ebook. It walks, I think there's like 26 maybe affirmations that will walk you through. And it really is helpful just to think through those, because sometimes you can just look at a list of affirmations and tap into your intuition and say, yeah, this is one that it feels like I need to say. I need to say this. This is something that rings true for me. That maybe it rings true because it doesn't ring true, if that makes sense. Like, you look at the affirmation, it's like, I really want to believe that about myself, but I don't. And maybe that's your spirit, your intuition telling you this is something you need to work on. So you don't necessarily have to know all of the underlying things going on. It's helpful to figure out, it's kind of taking the two-prong approach. So if there's things that you know that you need to deal with and you need to dig into and work the why question over and over and over until you get to the heart of the issue, then you can work on it from that perspective and work past those specific blocks. But sometimes it's helpful just to look at a list of affirmations and say, yeah, I think this one actually applies to me. This is something I want to work on. And sometimes you have internalized, you've said it daily, sometimes hourly. Sometimes it's like when you're in a certain situation and you're feeling that specific emotion come up. Like, I don't want to say negative emotion, but uncomfortable emotion coming up, and you say those mantras in the moment to help you through that. But consistency is helpful. And this is something I'm still working on and still learning. But really thinking through all of those. So it can be helpful to have a list of affirmations to work through. So that's why I created the Writer Affirmations ebook. Like I said, it's linked in my bio on Instagram, and then it's linked on Facebook and YouTube as well. And you can, and yeah, like I said, it's free, but you list through, and it kind of walks you through how to use them and talks about the things that we talked about here. So you have that in print form, so you don't have to remember everything I said today, because I know I kind of covered a lot. But definitely look that up to help you get through those writer affirmations, to help you get through those affirmations that you need to help get past all those writing blocks, because it's just, there's no greater agony than an untold story inside of you. Is that like Maya Angelou? I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, let's get past that agony and get that story out. Get the words out. Yeah. Okay, so last thing. I did kind of briefly mention it, but I do have an announcement coming up, and it will be Thursday. Yay. So I'm going to announce it on Thursday, something that I am designing to help authors that are stuck in their manuscript. Just this kind of stuff we talked about today to help you through certain things. Now, I'm not going to go into the details yet because I'm saving that for the announcement on Thursday. But stay tuned for that, because I will be sending out an email. So if you sign up to get the ebook, you'll be on my email list, and I'll send out you'll hear it first, or I'll also announce it at Instagram. So keep an eye out for that. Be sure to come back Thursday. But I hope that was really helpful for just understanding how mantras can really help rewrite our brain and help us think through things differently and help us get past those blocks that are holding us back from writing. All right. Well, thank you guys. It's like 25 minutes. I think that's a good length. So like I said, I will try to put the replay up on IGTV. There was 1 week I wasn't able to do it, but we'll do that. And I will keep doing these on Tuesday. So Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And I just have a lot of fun doing these. So if there's any other topics you guys want to hear me cover, I've got some plans, but if there's something specific that we feel like, we might chat about it. So feel free to reach out about that too. All right. Thank you guys for joining. I will see you next week. Bye, Facebook and YouTube.